Freedom does not come like a bird on the wing. It doesn't come down like the summer's rain. You gotta work for it. You gotta struggle for it, and every generation has to win it again.
The Chicago Defender and station WLAQ bring you Destination Freedom.
My name is Velma, V-E-L-M-A. My sister was Thelma. Velma Murphy Hill. I was born on the south side of Chicago in a cold water flat. I was a creature from a family of 7. My dad died when I was born, and my mother raised 7 children. She worked 2 factory jobs. My mother was a very strong trade unionist, and I recall going on union picket lines and singing union songs like, "Which Side Are You On?" I went to Roosevelt University, and I got very much involved in the NAACP Youth Council in Chicago. In 1960, there were the winds of change. There were young people, a little about my age, who were struggling in the South for their dignity and for their rights. I also met Norman in 1960. He was organizing at the Republican Convention, which was going on the summer of 1960.
And we're here to urge the Republican Party to come out with a strong, forthright civil rights plank in the platform.
His younger brother met me, and he says, "You know, you sound a little strange. You sound like a socialist, and you sound like my brother." And I said, "Oh boy, I want to meet your brother." We met on a picket line.
Which picket line?
It was a picket line, Norm.
It was a picket line at Walmart's.
In support of the students sitting in.
I do remember the day. That was the beginning of a relationship that has continued, of love and activism in the movement. We have been married for 61 years, soon to be 62 next month.
I don't know about you, Norm. I haven't been married that long. And then Norm came to a meeting of the NAACP Youth Council, and he talked about the struggles for civil rights. I got enthralled in his conversation, and it was at that moment that I was listening to him and my life changed, because I wanted to know more about A. Philip Randolph. I wanted to know more about Bayard Rustin, and I wanted to know more about Norman Hill. He and I started to date. Practically every evening we would find some time to be together. We didn't spend a lot of time on the movies, but we spent a lot of time on the picket line. And we had heard about people who were trying to use the beaches. For instance, there was an incident of a black policeman who went to Rainbow Beach with his family and got run out of Rainbow Beach because they did not allow blacks, African Americans. The beach was not segregated by law. It was segregated by custom. There's a deep history of Chicago's segregated beaches. In 1919, 2 black boys got drowned and a riot occurred. So we said, we're gonna go and have a sit-in. We're gonna do like the youth in the South did. and a little nervous about this, but we were determined. And it was Norman that said to us, it should be an integrated group. So he got in touch with young people at the University of Chicago.
Eagerly joined with the members of the NAACP Youth Council under Velma's leadership.
We said, oh, I don't know whether or not we want to go up with those guys. They're white. They're not accustomed to our parties. We don't know whether we're going to be comfortable with them. My Vice President Barbatella and I said, look, we want to integrate this beach, and we want to go out there with an integrated group. I was very nervous. Norm came and picked me up, and we were driving there, and I was saying to myself, Velma, don't be nervous, don't throw up, because you're the leader here, and you've got to be cool. There were 35 people, and it was mostly black, but certainly well integrated. And we gathered together. We had our bathing suits underneath our clothes. And I looked at Norman. Norman had on a pair of trunks, and his legs were terrific, by the way. We walked out to the beach. We had our chessboards and our checkerboards.
Socializing.
A little radio to play.
We sat on the beach.
And there were people and families on the beach, all white.
Things went calmly and smoothly until we noticed
Big wall. And on that wall, there were, at least 50 white guys, young guys, older than we were, and we heard somebody say, "You're on the wrong beach, nigger." And it was like a slap in the face. All of a sudden, there was a phalanx.
a gang of white youth and young adults
That sort of gathered around us.
moving toward our integrated groups.
And we looked around, there were no people on the beach. All the kids were gone, all the women were gone. I remembered a face. It was a guy like in his 40s, and his eyes were like very angry. So they started to come at us. We got up and we decided that we were going to leave the beach. We were singing "We Shall Overcome," and then all of a sudden, people start to throw things at us, rocks and bricks and
Throwing stones and rocks at us.
we didn't run, but we walked fast. And I remember getting hit in the head.
Being hit on the head with a rock, picking her up off the beach.
I remember my brother and Norman picking me up.
And she was bleeding from the wound.
There was blood all over my white shirt. Running to the area where you change clothes. And we were in there, and they were pounding on the doors, and I remember asking whether Norm was okay. The police coming to the door. Is anybody there?
He asked if anybody was hurt, and they said yes.
And I remember going to the hospital.
I went in the ambulance.
And later I found out I had like 17 stitches in my head. The Defender did a story about us, that when I came out of the room where they stitched me up, there were all the NAACP and all the kids from the UFC, University of Chicago, were there. And everybody was talking about how we were scared, but we were brave, and that we would come back again. We would come back until that beach was integrated.
And even though we were attacked, we were determined to come back.
We came back the next week. We came back, and there were hundreds of people who came out to support us. And I think hundreds of people who came out, and the police kept them away from us. We came out there until the beach was safe.
Having a sense of accomplishment in terms of integrating the beach by our participation, setting the stage for other groups to come and join us. This was a way in which not lawyers and not involved in bringing civil rights cases before the courts could directly participate.
There's another story which I got married and pregnant that same year and lost a baby, and because I was paralyzed from the incident. But I never, ever was sorry that we went there. And even today, there is a civil rights plaque at Rainbow Beach that we struggled there and we were victorious. Norman, if you would talk about the principles that brought us together then and that remain important for us today.
A commitment to mass action.
Yes.
By that we mean the march, the picket line, the boycott, some means by which those who are mistreated along with their allies can directly confront key decision makers and press for real change.
Yes.
We've seen jobs created for Americans and legislation introduced to better wages, improve health care, and provide worker protection for all Americans.
But we will march with the spirit of love and with the spirit of dignity that we have shown here today.
Unions have given African Americans an opportunity to work as truly free men and women.
Philip Randolph was the father of the modern civil rights movement. You gotta work for it. You gotta fight for it. Day and night for it. And every generation's gotta win it again.